Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 is a video game in the Sonic the Hedgehog series. It is the first episode of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, an episodic series that serves as a sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It was released in late 2010 for most platforms. A continuation, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 2, was released in 2012. As a continuation of the Sega Mega Drive Sonic games, it features a simple control scheme, no voice acting, and level design emphasizing platforming and momentum-based gameplay. In Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1, after the conclusion of the Death Egg saga that resulted in the destruction of the Death Egg, a rage-consumed Doctor Eggman begins to enhance his most feared creations in the past and use them to defeat Sonic for good. When the Hedgehog learns of the scientist's actions in the nearby continent, he immediately heads out to stop him. Upon release, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 was met with lukewarm reviews by critics, who saw it as a return to the series' roots after years of badly received titles like 2005's Shadow the Hedgehog and 2006's Sonic the Hedgehog. However, the game was criticized for its short length and many oddities concerning its physics. Both episodes of Sonic the Hedgehog 4 have been frequently compared with 2017's Sonic Mania, another title that acts as a follow-up to the Death Egg saga, with many viewing the former unfavorably in contrast with the latter. Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 is a 2D side-scrolling platforming video game, which features gameplay nearly identical to past 2D Sonic games. The game is divided into 5 zones, each split into 3 acts and a fourth, shorter act featuring the boss of the zone. The only playable character in the game is Sonic, who can run, jump, spin dash, and use the homing attack. The main objective of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 is to lead Sonic to the end of the acts in less than 10 minutes. As with past games, these acts are branched into various paths that offer the player different secrets to find. To finish each of the 3 first acts in each zone, the player has to touch the local goal plate in each act. In the 4th act, on the other hand, a capsule must be opened after defeating the local boss. In gameplay, rings appear scattered throughout each act. The number of rings carried by the player is displayed in the top left corner of the HUD. As with past Sonic games, rings serve as the playable character's main method of protection from damage. If the playable character takes damage while they carry at least 1 ring, they will not lose a life, though they will lose all their rings. Taking damage while not holding any rings will cost the player a life. The player can also instantly lose a life if they drown underwater, get crushed, fall into a bottomless pit, or spend 10 minutes in the same act. After losing a life, the playable character will respawn at the latest star post they touched, or at the start of the act if they have not touched any local star post. If the player runs out of lives, they will get a game over. Extra lives can be obtained by breaking 1-up item boxes, collecting 100 rings, or each time the player earns 50,000 points. The secondary objective of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 is to gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds by completing special stages. To enter a special stage, the player must collect at least 50 rings in any of the first 2 acts of a round and then enter the giant ring at the end of them. Collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds will allow the player to turn into Super Sonic after obtaining 50 rings. Special stages in Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 are akin to the ones from the original Sonic the Hedgehog, where Sonic must navigate a maze to reach the Chaos Emerald, collecting rings and avoiding the exit blocks. This time, the rotation is controlled by the player instead of automatically. Controllers with motion control support can use either a traditional control method or by tilting the controller to control the rotation. 2 significant differences between these stages and the original ones are the inclusion of ring gates and a time limit. Ring gates are barriers that prevent the player from crossing into the next area of the stage but can be passed once the appropriate number of rings, shown on the gate, have been collected. A time limit also kicks in at the start of each stage and boots the player out if they haven't collected the emerald in the time frame. The starting amount varies by level, 30 seconds for stages 3 and 5 and 90 seconds for the others, but can be extended in 5, 10, or 15-second increments by collecting orbs around the stage. Once a special stage has been completed, it can be replayed on the level select stage in either score or time attack modes, with a 1-up replacing the emerald. Once the player obtains all 7 Chaos Emeralds, Sonic can transform into Super Sonic during a regular level except for boss fights. Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 received generally positive reviews, with criticism focusing on poor physics and lack of momentum compared to the classic Sega Mega Drive Sonic games.